Okay, so everyone, welcome. Good evening. Welcome to this artist information workshop for the Olney Recreation Center and Paschalville Library. Thank you again for joining us. My name is Marguerite Anglin. I'm the Public Art Director for the City of Philadelphia with the city's Office of Arts, Culture, and the Creative Economy. I am going to kick it to Stephanie.
Hi everyone, my name is Stephanie Fuentes. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the Assistant Public Art Director at the Office of Arts and Culture. And we have two very exciting projects to share with you tonight. So I hope that we will see your applications come through.
Okay, a little bit of housekeeping. So this presentation is being recorded. And as Stephanie mentioned, we will be talking about two projects tonight, and we'll have a separate Q&A time for each. And so during those times, we'll invite you to ask questions using the raise your hand feature located at the bottom menu of your Zoom window. And when you're called on, please actually raise your hand, use the raise your hand feature, and when you are called on, we will unmute you. And so this presentation, along with the questions and responses from tonight, will be made available on creativephl.org by Friday, July the 8th. So this is our agenda for tonight. It looks long and daunting, but I promise you it's going to go fast. So, we're going to go through, we already did our introductions. We're going to talk a little about the goals for tonight. We're going to go through an overview of the Percent for Art program and the typical application process, as well as the general timeline for Percent for Art project. And then we're going to go through an overview and a Q&A session for both the Olney and the Paschalville project opportunities. And then we'll just talk next steps. So the goals of the artist information meeting is to walk you through the Percent for Art process, to provide an opportunity for you to ask questions about the application process and about these opportunities, to encourage local artists to apply to this opportunity and to both of these opportunities and future opportunities, and to provide assistance for those that may need it. And ultimately, we aim to make this process more transparent, to encourage all artists to apply, even those that may be new to public art or to the Percent for Art process. We're also doing something new tonight in introducing two projects in one meeting rather than doing two separate meetings. So we hope that this is an informative session for you, and we welcome your feedback. So you gonna do that one, Stephanie? You wanna do the poll?
Yeah, so our first general question, because we want to know who's in the room with us, is have you ever applied to a Percent for Art opportunity before? Simple yes or no. So go ahead and click your response, and we'll see who has some previous knowledge and maybe who are green. Okay. So we got two more people. If you're able to respond to the poll. And just make sure you click submit. Okay, so it looks like we're split evenly. And tonight you'll probably hear new information. The process to apply is different. It's been evolving. So we're glad you're here tonight so that you can learn and see how it's different. And for those of you who are new, we're excited you're here.
Okay, so the mission of the Percent for Art program is to commission beautiful and enduring artworks which reflect the diversity of Philadelphia's residents and visitors, its rich cultural landscape, its many histories, and the variety of public spaces in Philadelphia's communities. And so the city's Percent for Art program is triggered by city-funded capital projects such as a new construction or major renovation with a budget of $1 million or more. And the program requires that 1% of the overall budget be designated for site-specific public art. There are more than 1,100 pieces in the city of Philadelphia's public art collection. Over 300 of those artworks have been generated through the Percent for Art program. So the renovation of the renovation and construction of the Olney Recreation Center and the Paschalville Library through the city's rebuild program creates two separate opportunities for site-specific art with separate Percent for Art budgets. So the funding for the Percent for Art program goes directly to emerging and established artists. So there's no bias here in terms of if you're a studio artist and you're looking to, go get into the field of public art, or if you've been, a public artist for a long time, you can apply either way. And the Percent for Art program is a two-stage selection process, of which we'll talk about a little bit in the next slides. And community involvement is also a critical component. I'm going to talk about that a little bit. And also, selected artists are responsible for the design, fabrication, and installation of the artwork with support from OACCE. So once the artist is selected, we work closely with the artist and the project design team to conform the art to the technical parameters of the site. And with the support of OACCE, the final product is a new edition of site-specific art for community to enjoy. And so, as I mentioned, community involvement is vital in both selecting the artist and also making sure that the artwork is a true reflection of the community in which it exists. And so the goal is for artists to create site-specific art that truly reflects the people, history, culture, and values of that community. And community input helps to establish the goals for the art project. That input helps to inform the semi-finalists about the community and what their aspirations for the project, for the art is, what stories they want to tell, and also to respond to questions that the artist may have. And input ultimately helps to determine the winning Percent for Art project. Each Percent for Art project will have a Percent for Art committee, which will provide strong representation from the community, from the users of the recreation center or library or project facility that's being renovated. It'll include arts and culture, leaders and professionals. It will include representatives from the project design team, members of each project user team, which is also the project development team, residents and community leaders from that council district where the neighborhood is, representatives from the office of the council person in that district, and also representatives from Rebuild and OACCE. So throughout the city, there are many examples of Percent for Art projects from over the years. And so since we're talking about two different types of project tonight, which is a sculptural wall installation and also an outdoor seating project, both of which can take many forms, we've provided some examples of some of those types of projects here. So this is Flying Carpet by Ava Blitz. It's at the MLK Older Adult Learning Center. And the artist learned it was important for the community to incorporate activities that took place at the Older Adult Center into the artwork. So hidden within this glass tile mosaic are symbols of various activities such as billiards, cards, dancing, textiles, and bus trips. And the overall pattern design references a carpet. So the title Flying Carpet alludes to the adventures which take place within the center. This is African Legends by Robert Phillips. And this is a sculptural wall installation that features antelope that appear to be running across the wall as in a scene from the plains of the African continent. And the artist wanted to pay homage to the importance of ancient African folklore, proverbs, rituals, and myths as a literary art form. This is Philada, Book of Just Hours by Phillips Simkin. And this is a 26-foot multimedia law library located in the southwest corner arcade of the Philadelphia Criminal Justice Center. And it's constructed of metal, bronze, and law books for that corner. And the artist intended for the installation to serve as a symbolic or literal forum for discussions and debates on issues related to the American justice system. So those are some examples of sculptural wall installations. We'll have a couple of outdoor seating elements in the next few slides. This is Firefighter's Arc. That's a tongue twister. I never realized that until now. Firefighter's Arc by Jill Soblowski and Erica Ehrenbart. So this is, it's customary that in front of every firehouse, a bench is placed that serves as a meeting spot between residents and firefighters. And this is actually the city's oldest active firehouses in Chestnut Hill, Engine 37. So the artists were inspired by the architecture of the historic building and mimicked the curves of the arches from the over the doorways into the stone and metal bench. And then the seat backs of the benches are metal and made to look like folded fire hoses. This is River of Life by Masayuki Nagase at Venice Island. And Nagase created hand-carved granite benches, sculptural boulders, and engraved tile pavers and medallions that depict images of local flora, fauna, and water patterns. And the overall theme of Nagase's design was to bring awareness of the natural and historical context of the surrounding environment. Okay, and this last one is a playful one. It's a turtle by Eric Berg, and it's at the Palumbo Recreation Center. And sometimes seating doesn't need to exist in the traditional senses. So this large bronze sculpture of a tortoise is used as a play sculpture and a space for resting at the playground. Okay, so what's the application process? So there are two parts to the process. Part one, which is a call for artist round, and then part two, which is a semi-finalist round. We are currently in part one. So this is an online application that will be collected through Submittable, which is an online platform. And we are focused at this point on collecting information about the artists and their experience. And you may apply as a solo artist or as a team. So artists will provide contact and demographic information, your artist statement and resume for each artist. And artists or artist teams will upload up to 10 examples of artwork and public art or studio work. And also the Percent for Art Committee will review all applicants, and at that point select 5 semifinalists to move to part two. And just to emphasize, in this round, in part one, you do not need to come up with a proposal for the artwork. So in part two, if you are selected as one of those semifinalists, part two will include attending a pre-proposal meeting with the Percent for Art Committee. You'll participate in a community engagement event. You will receive a stipend, would be $1,000 for Olney or $750 for Paschalville to prepare proposal materials. You'll submit a site-specific proposal that will include renderings or sketches, as well as a written narrative and description of materials, your fabrication process, any maintenance needs, your project schedule, and a budget. And then those proposals will be made available for public community input period. Those semifinalists, you will present proposals to the present your proposals to the Percent for Art Committee, and then the Percent for Art Committee will recommend a finalist. And that finalist is going to be recommended to the Philadelphia Art Commission for ultimate approval of the artwork. And between the time that the committee recommends a finalist and it is submitted to the Art Commission, OACCE will work closely with the artist to further develop their design so that it fits the constraints of the project and the site. So this is a typical Percent for Art schedule, and this is what we consider an optimistic schedule because there are a lot of variables that could take place. But so for both the Olney and Paschalville Percent for Art, this would take us into early 2024 for completion. We're in this orange section here. It's a 6-month section of community engagement and artist selection. And I want to highlight that with all the projects, there is a design development phase. So I talked about that a little bit. It's the phase between the selection of the finalist who's going to be presented to the Art Commission and the time you actually get presented to the Art Commission. So there's a 2-month period of time when we're having any any changes or updates, revisions to the design so that it can conform to the technical aspects of the site. There is a several months time for the artist to contract with the city. The artist can only contract with the city, or the city can only contract with the artist after the art commission has approved the project. The city's contracting process is long. We like to, manage expectations up front with that. And so it can take several months after the art commission approval before the artist receives their first payment outside of the stipend, which you would have already received. All semifinalists will be asked to sign a terms of agreement form that confirms that you acknowledge this upfront. And a sample of the terms of agreement is available in the application on Submittable. And Stephanie was going to highlight where that is in a minute.
And then fabrication installation takes as long as it takes, depending on you as the artist determines for your project.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, there we go. Any questions so far about the Percent for Art process? We'll dive into each of the actual opportunities specifically, and we'll have time for Q&A with that as well.
But any overall questions would be great to get now.
Yeah, let's see. We got one hand. Okay, Elizabeth, go ahead with your question. You should be able to unmute yourself.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth. I just wondered if you're applying as a team, is that 10 images for both artists? Or
Inclusive, yeah, 10 images inclusive of all of the artists that are applying. So we suggest that you select works that best describe the skills that you want to put forward for that particular opportunity.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Great question. Anyone else? Okay. If not, like we said, later on we'll have more time for Q&A. Okay, so first we're going to talk about the opportunity at the Olney Rec Center, and then we'll talk about the Paschalville Library. So this is a rendering provided to us showcasing what the new Olney Rec Center is going to look like. This is kind of a bird's eye view. So the opportunity for the Olney Rec Center is to create a sculptural or three-dimensional art installation on an outdoor retaining wall at the Olney Rec Center that is a true reflection of the people, culture, and community of Olney. Artists should consider durable and appropriate materials other than paint and are encouraged to interpret what an art wall application could be beyond the typical painted mural. So when we're looking at a bird's eye view of the entire campus for the Olney Rec Center, the opportunity, the retaining wall is actually kind of below that walk up to the new rec center. So if we were looking at the previous image, this area is right here, that new plaza, the new play areas. This is what that opportunity is. And this was selected because it's an inviting way to encourage people to go up and see what else is up in the new campus that's being created. So this is kind of what it looks like at street level. This is the retaining wall, this entire red painted wall, which is located at the corner of A Street and Spencer Street. And these steps lead up to the new play spaces and what will be that new entrance for the new building. So if you look at it a little bit closer, it's fairly high. It's 10 feet high and 66 feet long. So what we're interested in is what interpretation of artwork can be placed here that is beyond something of paint. How can three-dimensional work be incorporated into a surface like a wall and create something that is engaging and exciting and leads up to what is going to be this new vibrant and enjoyable, safe space for everybody to enjoy, everyone for all ages. So that's the opportunity. This is the entirety of the wall is what the artist would need to incorporate into their design. So as far as the online application form, when you sign on to Submittable and you create your free account, you will kind of land on this page. And this is just a screenshot of what you'll see. So our office has lots of opportunities currently, not with just Percent for Art opportunities, but community neighborhood events. So you want to make sure that you're looking for the correct application. It's labeled Percent for Art Call for Artists, Olney Recreation Center, Part 1. This is what you're going to be looking for. You can click on the link here or click on Submit, and it takes you to the next page, which should look like this. So this is that same rendering that I showed you, and it has Olney Recreation Center, the project budget, $185,000, and the deadline, which is July 20th at 5 p.m. So this, as you keep scrolling down, it kind of gives a little bit of the information that we have in the call for artists, but we highly encourage you to click on the read and download because it gives all the information, including the information about what we're looking for in your application, the entire project schedule, all of that is in there. So as you keep scrolling down on that same page, this is what you'll see. That's that brief overview of the project. And then the attachments that Marguerite referenced earlier. So we have the call for artists available again for you to download and save. And then also we have the terms of agreement. So a sample of what the terms of agreement would be if you were to be selected as a semi-finalist. Just so you understand up front, this is what we ask of you, which is like all of those proposal materials, the deadlines for them, and understanding what the stipend is meant for as you prepare your proposal. And then we've also provided, you'll see here, number 3 is a sample public art contract. We put that out there. It's the agreement. It's a template of the agreement that all artists who get selected for Percent for Art projects would enter into a contract with the city. So you understand what the requirements are or what would be needed from the artist. And that's just provided up front. So you kind of have an idea. Once again, we're just aiming to make this process a little bit more transparent. And if you have any questions about that, feel free to ask us. And then also I want to highlight just below here that if you are having issues with uploading information or anything technical about the application, Submittable has a resource, like they'll be able to respond to it. And if you have specific application questions of like, what kind of material should I be uploading? Feel free to email me. So in the same page, you're not moving into any other pages. You keep scrolling down. Oh, I didn't include it in here. As you keep scrolling down, it'll actually open up into the application. Sorry, I don't have it on this slide. I have it on the Paschalville one, but then you go right into it and you just fill out the form. And the other thing to note is that if you need to pause in the middle of filling out your application, you can save the draft, come back to it another day. If you need to log out, log back in, it'll save it so that you don't lose any of your information. So in that read and download call for artists, we have this schedule. So this is the timeline. Now, we like to put an asterisk in there. Dates may change because things happen, but this is the milestone schedule that we've created for Olney. The highlighted event is what we're at today. So we're very early in the process, but we ask that if there are any questions specific to this project that you send them in. Any of the questions that come from tonight's event, as well as ones that are emailed to us, we're all gonna collect them and respond to them and then make them available on Submittable and as well on our creativephl.org website. The recording from tonight will also be available. So for those that weren't able to join the live event, this is still gonna be here. So as you are filling out your application, you need to reference something that's there for you. The next important dates are Once all of those questions are collected, we'll upload them to the website and submittable by the 8th. And then the deadline for Olney is July 20th at 5 p.m. July 20th, 5 p.m. And then as you see through the rest of the schedule, semifinalists should be notified around early August, with the pre-proposal meeting that is mandatory for the semifinalist a week after that, and a public input meeting sometime in mid-August. And then as the rest of the schedule goes through all of the milestones, the presentations to the committee would eventually happen. Where am I? Presentations to the committee would be in December. And then project completion, like Marguerite said earlier, when we were looking at the typical schedule, is early 2024. So once again, next steps for the Olney project. If you have questions about it, please email me. Sorry. Please, actually, I put the wrong date here. It's June 29th. Apologies. So just email us questions and we'll make sure that we are able to respond to them. And then, like we said, the Q&A from tonight, as well as the recording of this meeting, will be up on the website. And the deadline, once again, is July 20th at 5 p.m. So that is Olney. Are there any questions about this particular opportunity? It looks like we got one in the chat.
Yep.
And if you want to raise your hand, please use the raise your hand feature. So one question is the entry fence backed by earth, or is it an independent element?
Hey, Stephanie, can you go back to the Google photograph
Yes.
of the wall? So the fence is an independent element that's sitting on top of the wall. It's not, I'm not sure I'm understanding backed by earth. There's no earth right behind it. Obviously, you can see it's kind of open air behind. And I don't know if that answers your question. If you want to raise your hand, we can unmute you.
And yeah, we unmuted you. So we will say that the fence, as of right now, is not within the scope of this project.
Say that again.
The fence is not within the scope of this project. So we are not asking the artist to incorporate the fence into the design of the wall.
I thought that was the ultimate direction.
Not the fence on the top here, not this chain link fence. It's just the retaining wall, just the part that is painted in red.
Yeah, so when you say
you're
fence,
saying
we're saying
that's 10 feet high, just the
Yeah.
part that's in red?
Yeah, it's pretty high. It looks obscure because this is like the Google satellite shot or the Google view. So it looks very widespread.
No, I mean, it looks like it could, what I'm trying to get an understanding here is when you say it's 10 foot high, this red looks like it's wood. So is that the thing that's 10 foot high with the fence is another element above that? Is that correct?
so the red part, it does look like it's wood, but it's not wood. It is painted concrete. And somehow in the creation of the form of the concrete, those slats were created. So it might have been like a wood form that created the wall, but it is concrete. And so this question actually came up recently with the civil engineer. And so this is something that we are going to be confirming just to make sure that it is the 10 foot high. But again, that will all be, if it's a little bit lower or if it's a little bit higher, that'll all be confirmed and clarified in part 2, which is the part where we actually sit down and give even more information to those semifinalists about the technical aspects for their proposal. So for your purposes, this is a retaining wall. It is approximately 10 foot high. It is concrete up to the red portion. And then above that is a fence. And as Stephanie said, that metal fence, the metal fence is not included in the scope right now for the artist.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it just doesn't seem clear to me whether or not that whole unit is the item of design that you're seeking, but if you say that doesn't happen until part two, you know, okay, so it's not, it's not an important element right now, but it's obviously the major element for the whole project.
Right, so for this project, it is only the red component. So only the part that's painted red is a part where we're asking the artist to provide a sculptural, three-dimensional wall installation on that portion. And if there's a question about the height, we can certainly, and we will certainly clarify
confirm.
that
Mhm.
in the second phase for those artists. Does that help?
Somewhat. Again, I'm trying to figure out whether or not when you say it's just the red portion, is that a height that is limited or can it be higher?
If anything sculptural were to be higher, then there are implications of the safety of it, of, you know, how does this fence interact with that? This fence, as we know, is not going to be removed, but it is not part of what we're asking the artist to consider within the design. So the fence has to remain because it's a safety issue up on that, at that level, at that height. But we are not including that in the design for the artist. Now, somebody in the chat did ask, could it be included? I don't see why it couldn't, but there are certainly just different considerations as far as what can be attached to a fence, what would it look like? But I think it would be a welcome addition, you know, to see how the artist were to propose that. And then there was another question that came through. Will anything but paint be accepted for installation onto the wall of the recreation center? So anything but, I mean, there are limitations to what kind of application can be put onto a surface like that because it is vertical and because it's next to a sidewalk. There are issues with how things may catch behind it. If, you know, little kids' hands can go into it. So it can't be beyond 4 inches is what our suggestion is. But, you know, there's creative ways to apply dimensionality onto a vertical surface, and that's what we're looking for. You know, if paint is a part of the proposal, it can be part of it maybe, but not the entirety of it. So we imagine that we would hope that color is going to be infused into the surface somehow. It just is all dependent on what the proposal actually becomes. But, you know, those are considerations that we want to remind everyone that you don't have to make those decisions right now. You don't have to come up with that concept right now. Because we are more in the part one of this call is, what's your history as an artist? What have you produced in the past? And, you know, for anybody on your artist team, what's your skill set? And show us examples. But these are great questions so far.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on that one.
I still have a question here.
Okay, well, just 1 second. I'm just going to I'm going to piggyback on what Stephanie said to answer Vincent's question about what's acceptable. So we're looking for obviously things that are going to be durable for outside use. And so, you know, it could be anything like, you know, metals or something that is going to be durable and permanent. And that's one of the reasons why we're not looking for paint. You know, we also want something that's very innovative. And we want this to be more than just the typical mural.
Mm-hmm. It could be bas relief. It could be some type of mosaic that maybe has height coming off of it or depth in how it's applied to the wall. So those are different ways to create, you know, visual interest into a surface that's vertical. But those are just some ideas. And yeah, climbing would be a hazard, and that would be a question that that was a comment in the chat. You know, safety is a huge part of the decision making for these projects. So the committee would be looking at that, and it would be something that the artists who are creating the proposals would have to be sure that they are including as explaining, what are the maintenance needs, what are the security concerns, how did you avert those security issues with your design.
And Mr. Parmet, I see you just wanted to
Yeah.
get back to you for your
Yeah,
question.
thank you. So you indicated that you can see through the fence. One of my questions is, so that means, I guess it's a standalone object. Can it be removed entirely and replaced with something else?
The fence,
Not the red, whatever you call it,
the retaining wall,
the wall, yeah.
the wall will need to remain because it is part of a larger structure. The wall, if you can see here where the steps go up, it is all attached to it. So we're only concerned with this surface of the retaining wall, but this retaining wall extends all up these stairs. So there's no way to replace it entirely. It wouldn't fit within the budget.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
But any, you see there's damage that's on the retaining wall, damage, preparation of the surface. Those are considerations that we would make so that at least any damage to the wall would be repaired and it would not be included in the percent for art budget. So that would not be something that the artist would need to take care of prior to actually applying their artwork.
And can you just confirm the total dollars that are being applied to this? Unfortunately, I came in a little late, so I missed that.
So the entire project budget for the Olney Recreation Center is $185,000. And that budget includes the materials, the fabrication cost, the installation cost, insurance costs, travel for the artist or the materials, and the artist fee. So everything related to the actual creation of the work, that is what that $185,000 is for.
Thank you.
And wall prep, right? So
wall
if you have
prep.
to, if the wall needs to, to strip the paint or anything like that, that has to all be included.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yep. And does this installation have to be union? I don't think it has to be union for this site. We would clarify that, but for any trades that you would need to hire to contract, depending on the skill set, it may be under a union. But we would work with you on making sure that you have the correct skill set if you need help in locating that skill set for your team. Any other questions? Okay, we'll move on to the Paschalville opportunity then. Okay. So Paschalville, this is a rendering of what is going to be the new front of the building and a beautiful new ramp, new entryway. And we're going to be looking at what is going to be the story circle off on this corner over here. So the Paschalville opportunity is will be at the outdoor story circle on the Saybrook side of the library, and it will provide an intimate learning and gathering experience. Artists will be encouraged to interpret the history and culture of the Paschal and Elmwood communities through the creation of permanent outdoor fixed seating using materials that are appropriate and durable for exterior application. So if we are looking at the site plan, this is the bird's eye view of the library. We saw that beautiful new entryway, and off to the side, this is the Saybrook side of the building is that story circle, or what they're calling now Story Plaza. And I apologize that there was an older rendering in the document in the call for artists, but it's the same idea, same location, it's just a different shape. So this is, we're just highlighted in red here, what that gathering space would be. There's going to be teaching out there. It'll be gathering spot for activities, for kids, for teens, for all ages. And it kind of is tucked away a little bit. There's going to be this beautiful landscape that'll kind of give it a little bit of protection from the noise of the street and some separation. So this is just showing more of the angles that is that gathering space of what the Story Plaza is going to be, or Story Circle is going to be. Once again, the application form is through Submittable. When you log in after you create your free account, you'll see the same landing page for the Office of Arts and Culture, and you'll pan down, you'll scroll down on the page, you'll see all of the opportunities that we have currently, and you'll want to make sure that you are selecting the Paschalville Library Call for Artist application, highlighted here in the red box. And you click on that, you'll see that same rendering for the library with the information. This is the project budget, $90,000, and the deadline to apply is the 22nd of July at 5 p.m. The call for artists is available here in this hyperlink. You can download it. That is where all of the information about the project is, information about the community, and the project schedule is in there as well. As you keep scrolling down on this, when you're in Submittable and you keep scrolling down on this page, you will see that project overview. It's just a snippet of what is in the call for artists when you download it. Once again, those same sample terms of agreement. If you are selected as a semi-finalist, that is what we are asking for the semifinalists to be able to produce, and that you are understanding of what we're asking from you, and then also the sample artist contract. So as you keep scrolling down the page, this is what I meant to include in the other section with Olney, but this is what the actual application looks like, and it's all that same page. As you keep scrolling down, you can work through it. And as a reminder, you can save your draft and come back to it if you need to exit out of the document. So for Paschalville, the deadlines are similar, but they're not exactly matching up. So they're similar to Olney, rather. So this is the highlighted event, is where we are today. If you have any questions beyond this meeting that you want to send to us, please do by the 1st, and then we will post the Q&A as well as the Zoom recording from tonight up on the website by the 8th. The deadline is the 22nd. Whereas Olney is the 20th at 5 p.m. once again. And then semifinalists will be notified in early August. And a week after that, the pre-proposal meeting takes place, when that's a mandatory meeting if you are selected as a semifinalist. And then we have the public input, the first input meeting with the community. And then as we work through the schedule, materials, the first round of materials are due in October. More community engagement happens. Any changes that you would need to make before you do your final presentations to the committee would need to happen in between that time. And then in December is when you would present the semifinalists would present their proposals to the committee, and they will make their selection of who is the finalist to move forward. And then the rest of the schedule kind of matches along with what we presented for Olney, but it takes us into early 2024. So once again, all of these dates are in the individual calls for artists, and that's where all that information lives. So any questions about Paschalville? Let's see. Raise your hand. And I will have time at the end as well. But any questions about Paschalville? Okay. We're almost at the end. Once again, those next steps are, oh, Elizabeth, no, yes. Okay, go ahead, Elizabeth, with your question. You'll have to unmute yourself.
Is the site prepped for the bench arrangement, also the scale? It has to go from little kid to older person, right? It's not just intended for children.
Right,
more-
it's gonna be a gathering space for all ages, but definitely heavily used by kids.
Okay, and then the other question is like, I guess this is the second meeting if you're a finalist, like what's the pad, like what's there, you know, how is the site prepped? I guess we'll
Right.
find that out later.
Yeah, we can say that right now that it will be paper,
Favors.
pavers.
Yep.
Yeah,
And so any like anchoring or whatever, that'll all be planned. Okay,
yeah, that'll be in coordination with the design team.
okay.
Mhm.
Okay, that's all. Thanks.
Great questions.
Okay, so like we have said before, send in your questions if you come up with any additional ones, or if you're working through the application, or if you see something in the call for artists that you need clarity on. The Q&A and recording will be up by the 8th, and the deadline for Paschalville is the 22nd of July. Any overall questions? Feel free to ask them now. Otherwise, we will send you on your merry way on this beautiful Friday. And we're wrapping up very early, but oh, we have
Yeah,
someone.
we have a poll.
Oh yeah, and we do have a poll. We're not done. We're almost there. Go ahead, Joy.
Hi, yes, hello everyone. I just wanted to know, I noticed this was being recorded. Earlier, I was having some little complications logging in. I wanted to know, would I be able, or anyone would be able to have a copy of this recording, like sent via email? 'Cause I think I missed
It will
a
be
couple.
available. Yeah, we'll make it available on both the submittable application website and then on
Okay.
the Creative PHL website, along with the questions that have come in through either tonight or if they get sent afterwards up through the June and July dates that we mentioned.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. And Stephanie, those dates for questions for Olney is June 29th, right? And the dates for questions for Paschalville is July the 1st. So you can submit your written questions there if you think of anything after tonight.
Correct. Okay. So one last question we have for you is, from what you learned today, would you apply to either of these opportunities? And let me. We hope you will.
Thanks
So-
for the couple of people wrote in the chat, but I think it's just Stephanie and I can see that. They put yes, so thank you for
Yes.
saying that. But fill out the poll. We want to get a good record here in the poll.
And be sure to hit submit after you click on your response. Okay. So we're so excited to see how many of you are interested in these opportunities, and we hope that we demystify some of the process. You know, our goal, like Marguerite was saying, is just to make it more transparent and to encourage people who may have never done public art before to consider it. So we want to be as helpful as we can, and we're really excited to see the applications come in.
Yep.
So with that, that's it for tonight. Thank you.
Thanks everyone for joining.
Okay. Have a great weekend, everyone. Stay safe.